So we're live. Well, we're not live. We're pre-recorded live. Hey. So hi everyone. Welcome to the Nerdy Up North podcast. The nerdy podcast we hosted by Northern Nerds. I'm one of your hosts, and the other host isn't here. Sammy's fucked off, but we are joined by another host, and he's basically taking a captain's role today. It's Daddy Discord himself. Hi, Lee.
Hi, the Demolition Daddy.
The Demolition Daddy. Oh, Goodwill's going to get that in a soundbite and have it on his ringtone as we speak there. So, yes. With me being, shall we say, a little bit under the weather, and doctor's orders is to rest, and funny enough, to do things I like to try and keep my brain occupied, I thought, I'll do a few extra episodes of the Nerdy Up North podcast when I can fit in and see who wants to join me. And the first person who put his hand up in the air and said, please, 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 can we do a Demolition Man? So me being the arsehole I am, went, okay, but I'm not just going to give you a Demolition Man episode. We did a vote. So I made it hard for Lee. And I don't know if he bribed people or if he fixed the vote.
I think it smashed it, didn't it?
Yeah, no one else come close to it. And I can't even remember who was on the...
I think Mallrats might have been second.
Yes, Mallrats.
That'll need a review at some point.
Well, we've done it. We have done a Kevin Smith episode, but we could work them through, and hopefully, if Donna's feeling a little bit better sooner as well, we could get Donna on, because she is a Kevin Smith aficionado, like the nerd meister herself. There, trying to think of an appropriate name for Donna at this time during the day as well, because even though it is pre-recorded, wink, wink. This will be going out at 1 o'clock. So yes, Lee is at work working hard now. So
yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Yes. So before we do get into the talks and stuff, why were you so keen on Demolition Man, then, Lee?
It's the greatest action movie ever made.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a massive fan of Stallone. I've seen everything he's in, except for Rhinestone, because I don't want to put myself through that. Sylvester Stallone singing and dancing to country music.
I've heard of it, but I've never watched it. I think I only heard of it after watching a few of the Rambo films, and you look back at this was before in the internet days where you can go IMDb someone and basically see the whole backlog and catalogs. You had to actually do your research, and how did you use magazines and shit like that, or how did we actually research it as a kid?
I don't know. I think I just watched everything that the Radio Times told us was on the telly.
Oh, now that's going back to the Christmas Times. I still get the Radio Times of Christmas and highlight the things that you want to watch. Since Sky came about, it's taken away the fun a little bit now, and streaming and stuff. But we used to remember all the movie premieres and stuff like that. But yes, so with that Sammy not being here, she's basically babysitting kittens. And the kittens have got fleas. She hasn't got fleas. Well, that's debatable there. I don't know how much body hair Sammy has on her to have keys, but fleas. Sorry, that's something that we can ask at a later date. But yes, so I'll do a disclaimer because I always get this wrong, and I always say something a bit naughty when I shouldn't do. So I'll try and do it perfect just for Sammy and her fleas. So everything discussed in today's episode are our opinions and our opinions alone. If you want to discuss any topic from tonight's episode, please come and join our Facebook group or Discord, and we can have an open discussion. What we won't have is anyone come for us and tell us our opinions are wrong. We can agree to disagree in fandoms. Let's keep it fun, keep it kind, and keep the toxic behaviour out of nerdism there. So not as clean as not as approachable as Sammy, but that's my gruff, angry way, shall we say. So yes.
It was perfect.
Oh, Lee, you're biased. So Lee is basically fighting with Beth to get the title of #1 fan for the Nerdy Up North group. I don't know who has watched the most content out of the two of you now. I don't think I can see her in the chat today, so she'll be fuming that she's missed out on this daytime special. She'll probably be in bed, or she'll probably be eating another bowl of cereal there. So
she's probably beaten us on podcast viewing hours, but I think I'm top on Twitch.
Top Twitch. So...
It's that goodwill. Can't get enough of that goodwill.
The goodwill poured now. So yes. So let's talk about the movie. So when was the last time you watched Demolition Man? Or how many times have you watched Demolition Man?
Oh God, I don't know. I watched it 2 days ago, but I've watched it over 100 times. Definitely, there's no doubt about that.
So would you say this one is one of Stallone's best? Because that's going to be a hard, quite a strong thing to throw out.
Oh, it's the funnest that he's done.
Right.
I don't know what I would say his best is maybe Rocky.
Right. Okay. Fair play. So I don't see this as a Stallone film. I think if you take Wesley Snipes out of this and Simon Phoenix, this would be a mediocre film at best.
Yeah.
It is like utter joy and just basically how much fun Wesley Snipes is having as Simon Phoenix in this movie. Like Stallone can just phone it in and just rein in the coattails because he is very much just playing it by the numbers when you watch it back. And not a shit on Stallone, I do like Stallone. I think some of the stuff he's doing now is some of his best work. Tulsa King is one of the best TV shows I've seen in the last since The Sopranos, and that's a bold statement I'll make, and I'll stand by that one. But yeah, I don't think Stallone is. I think he is very much Judge Dredd in this movie, just without the mask.
Yeah, very. About the Simon Phoenix thing. So Wesley Snipes is perfect as him.
Yeah.
Do you know who was originally meant to be Simon Phoenix? Who he wanted?
Oh, coming up with the facts already now. So yes,
Jackie Chan.
Really?
That was who he wanted. But in Asian movies, they don't apparently like people that have been heroes for all these years to be suddenly cast as a villain because they have like a fear of being typecast into that role permanently.
Well, that kind of fucked Jet Li with basically Lethal Weapon 4, was it?
Lethal Weapon.
But yes.
But I don't think it would have worked as well with Jackie Chan.
No, I don't think anyone else could have played Simon Phoenix any better. Just the sheer magnitude and
just what a badass.
Yes. But the whole premise of this is absolutely crazy. But is it so crazy now? With a lot of the shit that's coming out and a lot of the stuff that's basically in this movie, you think, it's too far-fetched, it's too outrageous. And now we're living in getting close to that time. It's like, yeah, you can see certain things going that way and going towards that political landscape, shall we say?
Yeah. Someone commented on the post that you put in the Facebook page earlier on, saying this is more like it's not a non-fiction movie. It's a non-fiction movie now, and it's getting closer to the idiocracy kind of feel.
Oh, now we're using big words now.
But yeah, it's predicted so many things, which I've got a list of things that it has predicted, but I'll just see if the chat can try and join in and see if they can pick out any things that they know that Demolition Man has predicted before we get onto them.
Definitely. But coming back to like the cast, because with any type of like sci-fi or action movie, like, it lives and dies by the main two, the good guy and the bad guy, and these two play off each other as well. The one thing I do love about this as well is the supporting cast. I think everyone in this plays it so simply and so naivety as well. I think that's probably the best word. Like Sandra Bullock, the only criticism I can give Sandra Bullock is what was she thinking with her eyebrows during this movie. They are like, when you watch them back, it just takes like your focus point. It just looks like someone's shaved their eyebrows off and drawn like a line on a pencil, and it just doesn't move. But yeah, that was my hot take from Sandra Bullock on Demolition Man. But yeah, everyone else. I
haven't actually noticed her eyebrows.
No, you're gonna have to. You'll never not see her eyebrows. Now I'm pointing them out. They are absolutely ridiculous. But just like say her character in it as well, the growth and how it goes on, like say, is quite interesting and naive. Like the other police officer as well, the chief, I've forgotten his name now, but he wanted to punch in his face just because he was so single-minded and quite intolerant to anyone else's views and stuff as well. So for such a...
I love that Sandra Bullock is the most competent police officer in that whole department. Because... she's the one that finds out where the doctor's car's gone at the beginning and tracks down Simon Phoenix. All the other police officers try and fight Phoenix and just get the asses kicked. But she, I can't remember who it is that she beats up, but she kicks the hell out of some dude later on.
And it's great that the reason...
She's like the only one that can fight.
The reason why she's so good as well is because she went back and watched 90s and 80s films.
Oh yeah, where did you learn to kick like that? Jackie Chan movies.
Yep.
I don't know if that's like a reference back to Jackie Chan originally being casted.
Potentially
to be cast as that.
Potentially, I could see that certainly going that way, but definitely. And what was it? Rob Schneider was in it as well. When he was like taking the piss out of Stallone for not knowing the most
He doesn't know how to use the 3 seashells.
Who the fuck knows how to use it? I know you've been debating this all morning, but like say, can please someone help me? I don't want a live demonstration of how they works, but can someone either in the chat or can you tell me how the 3 seashells work? Because that's something that I say in my imagination, I don't want to try and imagine how it would work, but if someone could tell me, it would be interesting. So if you can just, are you trying to think of an easy way to describe it there, Lee?
I mean, even Sylvester Stallone's came out and said the way he thinks it is you use 2 for nipping anything off like excess.
But why?
And then using a third to scrape.
But I don't know if the Americans poo differently to me. I don't need to nip anything off. I've never had to nip anything off. It kind of doesn't. I know we, like I said, taking the level. If anyone's having the dinner at this moment, get in. But yeah, I've never had to nip anything off. So a seashell to nip, just, yeah. And to be fair, to wipe with them things don't look comfortable either way you use it or either way you turn to use it as well.
Oh, it's making us cringe. Just like even thinking about scraping a seashell down my arm.
Yeah,
it's just like that scratching feeling. Just
and like I say, let's be honest, it's one of the most sensitive areas of the body as well. It's not something that you want something rough and unrelenting, shall we say, going near type thing. So yeah, I think again the 3 seashells was always an odd thing that they put in, but it was kind of like a piss take all the way through, and the joke went through all the way through the film.
So the way that the seashells came about is the guy writing it or directing it, I can't remember, was trying to think of, because they were doing a scene about Stallone going to the toilet in the future. He went, what can I do to make this seem futuristic? He had no ideas.
Right.
And he rang his mate, who went into the bathroom and went, I can't think of anything. I've got some seashells there as a decoration. And the guy was just like, I'll make it work.
Right.
And that's it. That's the whole backstory.
Wow.
The seashells, nothing else.
So the reason behind like the mind-boggling question that will probably rain on, and the debate will always go on when it comes to this movie, is because someone didn't know how they would basically wipe their ass in the future.
And it's worrying. Like if he rang a different mate and his mate goes into the bathroom, he's like, "Oh, I've got an ornament of a duck."
A duck.
Something.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Imagine if he fucking ran.
He doesn't know how to use the duck.
Imagine if we got through to Graham. Jesus Christ. The mind boggles where that would go as well. But yeah, like the whole premise of this movie is absolutely, I would love to say ludicrous, but it's not. It's quite simply done. It is basically the age-old tale of man out of time, basically trying to reinvent himself. It is basically, just thinking back, this is probably what Captain America, the Marvel Universe, ripped off. Basically, Captain America is just basically the Marvel version of Demolition Man.
Yeah.
That's why basically done it worse in my opinion as well, because I know I'm not a big Captain America fan when it comes to the movie as well.
I didn't like the first movie. It was quite a slow build-up.
Yes.
But Winter Soldier is probably one of the best in the whole Marvel franchise.
It was okay, but yeah, I'm not going to get. Like, I don't want Sammy to start raging and kicking off all over again, like say losing his shit over something as simple as that, because it'll happen again. But the other things, like say the premise in the movie is basically, as you said, they're trying to rehabilitate all these frozen cons, because basically all the jails are overpacked, and instead of having them like in jails, they were freezing them or freezing the worst of the worst. And I don't understand, like, say, with John Spartan being such a decorated police officer, him having to be frozen never made sense to me. It was kind of like I know they said his decision led to 30 deaths, but that in America, wouldn't he just get a slap in the wrist and told don't do that again?
So I've got a massive problem with this.
Right.
I don't have any problems with this movie, but it doesn't make sense. So Simon Phoenix, it shows you his rap sheet later on when they're checking who he is on the film, and his rap sheet says like murder, homicide, rape, theft, possession of drugs, creation of drugs, and these are all like listed over and over and over. And what does John Spartan do? He goes in and stops a guy that he's searched by himself for 2 years for. The police couldn't do anything about it. He's gone on a solo mission, took down like 7 bad guys, and then carried Wesley Snipes out of an exploding building. They did a thermo scan before going in, which what's it called, Lamb could have even attested to.
Yep.
And he's done all of this, saved the day, but unfortunately the hostages had died. They were already dead. They weren't found in the buildings.
Spoilers.
Until afterwards. And then Simon Phoenix goes, he said he didn't care. It's all his fault. And the police captain just goes, well, I'm going to take the word of this complete fucking madman. You're getting 70 years in a cryogenic prison. And just to top it off, that's the one thing that he's getting sent down for, with no evidence against him. Simon Phoenix gets a parole hearing before John Spartan. How?
The parole hearing I can understand, because that was orchestrated by the main bad guy who wanted to kill Edgar Friendly. Let's just take a second for the names though as well, like John Spartan, Simon Phoenix, Edgar Friendly, just to name a few, and like say Sandra Bullock's kind of Lena Huxley. Like, did the person who think of these names just think of like what would we name these movie characters from the 50s, or if like we're in some kind of Gumshoe or like a Dick Tracy novel and stuff like that. The names are absolutely ridiculous, but I get you, like that one thing as well. And watching it back, like say over the last few days, I still piss myself laugh at the start where Stallone just attaches himself to the helicopter and opens the door and jumps out what must be about 40, 50 feet in the air, and basically snaps back. So it's not a bungee cord, it's just a rope. So basically, as soon as he hits that bottom of the rope, his spine's just going to be snapped in half, and all he does is shoot some people and unhooks himself.
In the comics, he jumps out and it's just a normal rope. And he's like going, I have to time this right. And I think it's like literally as it's about to snap back, he just cuts it with his knife.
Right.
So like just to stop the tension or something like that. I don't know. It doesn't explain it. I don't think it would work.
No. It certainly would die. Like I said, that would be the whole thing. But watching back now, I probably should have realised more. I got so many RoboCop vibes from this as well. It's almost like corporate greed, and like said in the 90s or the 80s, that was the big bad guy for any type of like thing. But the whole idea is basically to live in this utopia type world, basically freedom of choice and freedom to basically do everything that sounds fun or kind of enjoyable has been outlawed. Which, would you want to live in that type of world?
No. I mean, it would be peaceful and safe, which would be great.
Yeah.
Because the world we live in at the moment is a bit shit. Like, there's bad stuff.
Would you swap that for a cheeseburger, though?
Nah. I want my cheeseburger. Yeah. I would eat rat burgers. If all I could eat was salad, and I found someone selling rat burgers, I'm eating rat.
Yeah. It did look tasty. It looked like a good burger as well. I just like say the whole like premises and like say in this is just hilarious. I know a few people in the chat have been naming a few things like Taco Bell restaurants, self-driving cars, Arnie's political career. Those are just a few things. So were they on your list there, Lee?
So the list I've got. Let's drag this up. So video calls. Self-driving electric cars. they've basically got Alexa, like just basically Alexa, Alexa, deluminate, illuminate.
Yeah.
No contact handshakes. That's a quite recent one.
Right. Okay.
Like greetings and salutations.
Yes. Do not touch me. That's fine.
Arnie going into politics and contactless payments.
Well, there is people now that's getting implants in the hands that work as a contactless card. So that's been something that's been around for the last few years. That rather than getting because the same technology that go on the back of your mobile phones or your contactless cards, you can get a chip put into your hand that has the same type of things. So you can use it to start your car. You can use it to turn your lights on. You can use it to basically make payments. So that technology is actually out there. There's people actually doing that at this moment.
I can see people complaining about that, saying, "Oh, well, they could put anything in there. It could be a tracking device, all whilst carrying the phone around."
It's the 5G argument all over again. But yeah, it's scary how close certain things. It's almost like they knew this technology was in the works. And I know during the 90s and the 80s, the competitiveness between Arnie and Stallone was there. So they did have the little jabs in the movies. So I don't know if it was basically directed that he knew Arnie was going to go into politics. Because I know in Last Action Hero as well, they had Stallone in the Terminator role.
He was the Terminator.
Yeah, and he's good. That was his best role. It's good. Yeah, and it's like... But because if you watch the Arnie documentary on Netflix, they talk about it and saying the rivalry was real. They actually hated each other so much during this time because both of them wanted to be the best and be the biggest. And Stallone actually says, unfortunately, Arnie was bigger than me, even though probably Stallone has probably had the better career now. If you look back, from going back to Rocky and to what he's doing now. Because I can't remember the last good Arnie film.
No, I can't.
So that sounds like it's another podcast, another day there. The only thing that really threw me watching this back now is the fact that they had quite a big comedian, quite a big name for his time in such a small role for Edgar Friendly, like Dennis Leary. I thought he was going to be playing a much bigger part in this. I don't know if that might have been the idea when they cast him, but it kind of seemed like his character or his presence was downgraded for the Simon Phoenix and Stallone role.
Not even sure about that. I know not Edgar Friendly. Dennis Leary is a stand-up comedian, but that's all I know about him.
Right.
And apparently he likes to go on big rants, and the directors just wanted to let him go for one. And just let him just drive away.
Let's go off. But no, because in the 90s and stuff, he was on the cusp of being the next big thing. Like I said, there was a lot of things that he was supposed to be going to be in. He's done a lot of TV shows and stuff like that. So I think at the time, but that Edgar Friendly role, it felt like it was going to be something bigger. It felt like it was going to flesh out to something, but it just seemed to be not fully realised, if that makes sense. Especially when we got to the ending part, when they've got the whole... him and the police chief have got the total polar opposites and outlooks, and Stallone does the whole, hey, you guys do this, you guys do that, come find a middle, and that's where we'll live now. And it's like, okay, Stallone is the law again, but but it just felt like that role or that presence in that role that was probably meant for something, and it just haven't got on the cutting floor, or say maybe I'm just reading too much into it.
They've definitely cut quite a lot out, because when Stallone meets Edgar Friendly, the woman standing next to him is John Spartan's daughter.
Right. Okay.
And when Simon Phoenix shows up on the bridge and he's shooting down at him, you see Stallone covering some woman, and he's protecting his daughter.
Right.
But they've just completely cut that out. And then at the end, there's only one other mention of her where... just before he kisses Sandra Bullock at the end, you see some woman walking away from him, and there's a scene where he was arranging to meet up with his daughter and finally reconnect and go for dinner and stuff. But they've just cut that out, and you just see her walking away just at the very end bit.
Ah, interesting. See, that would that's probably why, like I say, I felt like something was missing, because if she was with Edgar Friendly, that to me makes more sense. Why I know they probably said he's from that time, he understands, he wants to live that life, but he would have more connection or more reasons like to be like supporting Edgar Friendly's type battle inside it if his daughter's involved. So
Yeah,
no, I quite like that. I think we need to start a petition now, like the Snyder cut. We need the Stallone's daughter cut, or the Spartan daughter cut, shall we say? So we'll get
I mean,
goodwill on that course.
I've read the comics which have some of these in. I didn't realize it was a book as well.
Right.
Which I've ordered the book.
Okay.
That's meant to be coming like next week or something.
Right.
But there's quite a few bits being cut out. So Lam, the older black guy that works in the precinct,
right,
the old helicopter pilot, he goes with them to open the sewer door.
Right.
When John Spartan goes down, and that's the last time you see him in the film. When Wesley Snipes escapes from the sewer, he comes across him, shoots him, and kills him.
Right. Okay.
Which I think that's quite a shame they missed that out, because that would have been quite an emotional moment.
But you never see
you don't feel any loss in the whole film.
Yeah. But you don't see anything like of him again in the film. So I wonder if that actually happened and it's been cut out.
Also, there was meant to be an epic fight between Stallone and Jesse Ventura's character.
Right.
Because he just disappears off the map as well.
Yeah.
Last time you see him, he shoots Cochran, is he called? The main bad guy?
Or
Cockroach?
Let's see if I can get his name there. Dr. Raymond. I know he's played by Nigel Hawthorne. Yeah.
I just remember it's got cock in there somewhere.
If anyone can remember his name, I can't find it now. It's cutting it off. But yeah, that was an interesting take. But I love the idea as well of this as like reprogramming people like with certain traits or certain abilities, and basically again that's more down to the fear mongering in the future of like the government putting things in your head and making you want to do things or to certain needs. But the fact that they made him be obsessed with knitting or seamstress was the most like interesting vocab. But the only thing again that I found was a bit strange as well is how the maids, like, even though the mentally prepared Simon Phoenix for all his things, Stallone actually says that they made him 3 times stronger. So how did
who's this?
So
Simon Phoenix,
yeah, they made him 3 times stronger. So how can they make him Superman? Did they pump him full of steroids as well when he was in the ice and stuff like that?
I don't know if he is 3 times stronger by the end, because he is punching Stallone and it's not like he's punching his head off or anything. But at the beginning, he grabs a police officer out of the car and throws him with one hand across the street.
Yeah.
Another thing that was cut from the film, when he's unfreezing all of the other prisoners, there was meant to be some that were ready to be able to fight Stallone, and Simon Phoenix starts injecting them with megamphetamine,
right?
Like a mega-amphetamine stuff, or megadrenaline. That's it. Sorry.
Right.
Which made them stronger. So possibly that might be some part of the unfreezing process, or he might have found it himself before leaving the place. I don't know.
Oh, interesting. Very cool. Like it's one of those. Because I hate like over analyzing movies. Like I know when we say we're going to review these things, you look at it with a different lens. Films are meant to be like there to sit and just enjoy, and this is one of the most fun ones. You can just sit back, and if you turn your brain off and don't overthink, it goes from A to B quite quickly, and it is entertaining. But as you said, when you look at it and think this quite doesn't make sense, this doesn't feel right, and certain things, and it's a shame if they have cut these elements out just to make it like a streamlined movie. But that's probably where streaming is now, where we probably would get the full feature-length film if it did come out these days, where all these extra things in. But it would be a longer movie, and people would probably complain as much now. It wouldn't make it a bad movie or a worse film, but it feels like there's a lot missing now when I'm watching it back.
One bit not cut, which was just an accident.
Right.
Jack Black. Have you noticed Jack Black in this film?
No, I didn't.
When Stallone meets Edgar Friendly, so it's got his daughter on one side and then Jack Black's on the other side of him.
Right.
Very young Jack Black.
Mm-hmm.
He'd been waiting on set for about 90 days, I think it is. Like, thinking, oh, do you need us today? No. Do you need us today? No. Do you need us today? No. Finally, he slept in one day and he was like, oh, crap, I better get to the studio. He was driving along, his agent rang him going, where you at? And he was like, chill, they haven't needed this. It's fine. He's like, this is the day you need it on set. You've got a big line. And he's like, oh, crap. And he's just like, I don't think he was too positive. It was just something like, are we going to get them now, Edgar? It was something like that. And he was like, some crappy line in a movie. I don't care.
Bless him. I didn't notice it was Jack Black. I might have to rewind it back and watch it and go through. But yeah. I remember when this first came out, because I am that old. Like, say the release date was 1993. There was like a big buzz about this movie, and it wasn't where, like, as I said at the start, where you got the internet and looking at the trailers and stuff. There was like an EA or like a special 10-minute documentary type thing showing you like the making of the movie and what was going on. And I always found it fascinating that the Stallone that gets frozen that you see in the ice, they made a life-size waxwork model of Stallone, and he meant to have had arguments with like the people on set over the size of his manhood. So, because apparently they did make it like anatomically correct and everything in the way, but he wasn't happy because he thought they made his cock too small in the model.
I mean, he would be nice, so it would be cold.
That would have been an excuse, but I always found it quite amusing that like Stallone kicking off about a waxwork model of himself. That's only going to be that must have took like how long for them to make, and it's only going to be in the shot for what 30 seconds to 2 minutes, which is hilarious.
Oh, that's long enough for us to notice it every single time. Your eyes just dart to it immediately, like, oh god, I looked again.
Jake's just pointing as well that the actual wax model is in a bar in LA somewhere on the wall. So
it was in Planet Hollywood.
All right,
I think. But then I think it's been moved.
So
I'm not sure where it is
Planet
now.
Hollywood still a thing now? I
don't know. That might be why it's not there anymore if it's been shut down.
I know a lot of them closed down. I know the one in Florida did. But I think there was one in London as well, but I think that definitely went by the wayside. I went to the one in Florida, and that had one of Marty's outfit from Back to the Future in, and that was a highlight for me. But I was just like, we've got to sit next to Marty. But yeah. So I know, we've talked about Stallone's roles and his best performances. Wesley Snipes is like a polarizing character for a lot of different reasons now because of behavior outside of movies, but for some reason when it comes to certain franchises or certain things, he can turn it on and turn it off and be the highlight of a movie. I remember this. I talk about Blade. We can talk about White Man Can't Jump. For an actor that had literally everything, it's guttering where it's gone now type thing with him.
He's an amazing actor. He's like Black Gary Oldman. Gary Oldman can put himself into different roles, and you can see him in another film and go, "Holy shit, is that Gary Oldman?" Because he just looks different all the time. You put Simon Phoenix next to Blade, they don't even look related.
No, I would like to see that fight though. That would be an interesting fight.
Yeah.
Say that's the comic we need now: Blade versus Simon Phoenix. We're trying to
I love his hair in this film and his outfits as well. I don't think we talk about fashion ever on this podcast, but that's the only cool guy I've ever seen in dungarees. And apparently he hated his hair. He shaved his hair as soon as they finished filming.
Right. Okay.
Well, I think that hair was so cool until Cisco ruined it later in the 90s.
I was going to say, are we going to see a comeback with Lee's form of the Simon Phoenix hairstyle on the next 24-hour podcast that's coming up? We'll say, guess the hairstyle. Or, when we're having the auction, you can pay money to style Lee's hair. So that could be something that we could auction off as well as Goodwill's
dear.
virginity.
Oh, what am I getting myself into?
Oh, you know.
I shouldn't say what am I getting myself into after you mentioned Goodwill's virginity.
Yeah. Oh, we know that's going to go for big bucks, so that's fine. He's probably watching back now going, I fucking hate these guys, but yeah. So regarding, like, say, the outfits as well, like, I do love the outfits in this. I know at the start when you first meet Simon Phoenix, he's wearing these, like, is it stripy or checkered pants, where it almost looks like his Joker-esque type outfit. It's like almost kind of like you could imagine him being in Gotham City and being a villain for Batman. But as with any action movie in the 90s or the 80s, like, the catchphrases that stuck with this movie as well, like, literally you can't, like, when you mentioned Demolition Man, people always come up with, like, the one-liners. They'll always say, like, teddy bear, or
is it cold in here or is it just me?
God,
good memory.
But yeah, it is quintessential. You don't get many of these type of action movies now with, like, the one-liners or the catchphrases and stuff. It's always got to have, like, a joke in, or to take it almost either. You get the opposite. You either get too serious or ttoo jokey. These ones used to hit, like, the sweet spot of, like, saying being niche, where they were cheesy as fuck, but they also, like, say, always entertaining.
Yeah, I don't think there's any amazing one-liners anymore, apart from they just bring back the old ones.
Yeah.
Like, if Arnie's in a movie, they've got to put "I'll be back" in there somewhere.
Like, as we've got with the Expendables, like, doesn't matter how many versions. Like, every time Arnie was in it, I'll be back. Bless him.
No, you've been back too many times.
No.
I'll be back.
Oh, if they make another Terminator film again, oh God, please don't.
Well, another one. There's only two.
There's only two.
Look, if Goodwill can say there wasn't an Uncharted movie came out in 2022, there's only two Terminator movies.
See, my argument with that, I don't think Terminator 3 is a bad movie. It just had the wrong casting for John Carter.
It's a comedy.
Yeah. But not really. It's not really a comedy. I think it gets a lot of hate because they had a female Terminator, and I think that was a lot of the hatreds towards it. But the guy
I think Christina Logan, she was brilliant. She was a great Terminator.
Yeah.
I think they just made fun of everything too much, like the star sunglasses. It's an amazing scene, which the cut as well about we've seen where Arnie is the army general.
Right.
Lieutenant Candy.
Okay.
He's like, "Ha! I'm Lieutenant Candy."
Oh God.
Have you not seen that?
No, I've not seen that. I'm glad I haven't seen that yet. But yeah, like, I've got a little bit of love for Terminator 3. Like, anything that came afterwards, I think with that, just a lot of the stuff just comes. Like, say, the casting they got wrong, especially for John. That, like, say, you needed someone like a bit dirty, a bit like greasy. Like, say, Edward Furlong was perfect for that role, and I know you couldn't cast him again after his problems, but you find someone along that lines that irk. Like, say, Nick Stahl's unfortunately is just too clean cut and too nice looking to really feel like, say, the street rat role, shall we say?
Yeah.
But yeah, that again going off in tangents as well. So yes, like, say, what was your, like, favorite parts of Demolition Man? What things would you say stand out?
I love Simon Phoenix when he's in the phone box at the beginning, and that fight between the police officers and him. The soundtrack is amazing. Like, it's not even a song that's playing. It's like someone on mixing decks, like, boo, like.
So we're getting Lee beatboxing now, so we know we're getting new talents now.
It's timed perfectly with it. Whoever's done it, and then he has a fight with that other guy, and he's going, like, teaching him how to punch. I'm trying to think of other bits as well. Just it's difficult to pick a moment because the whole movie is perfect.
I think, as you said, the initial action scene at the start is you know what you're setting yourself in for, what you're going to get. But I do like the confirmation in as you said, in the museum, where Simon and I can't get with Simon Phoenix and can't get my words out now. Stallone's character Spartan goes at it like fully, and then they go into the old ruins of LA when like the earthquake hit, and it's like the last like the space and time, and then Simon Phoenix realizes what the gun can do, and his reaction to that is hilarious as well, and the fact that as well he gets electrocuted and all he does is just fly in the air and has no burn marks, no ill feelings. Like, yeah, he can survive that shit. But yeah, that whole fight scene as well. I know I'll probably get a little bit stick for this. My disappointing scene part of the movie is the ending. I think the end fight is a little bit lackluster. It's not. I was expecting more, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Again, I think this is because they cut the scene where he was meant to be fighting all of these, like basically roided up criminals.
Right. So that would. So yeah. So you think that would have basically led more, given us a bit more of an ending or a satisfying ending, shall we say?
I wonder if we would have got a Jeffrey Dahmer though.
Oh,
I don't know if
God.
we would have been brave enough to put that in because he was frozen.
Yeah, that was one of the things that comment because that was a brave decision to have that like throwaway comment in there as well. It's like the
Jeffrey Dahmer. I love that guy.
Like, wow, especially again I wonder if they re-release Blade Runner and not Blade Runner, Demolition Man, like say in a 4K or like a special release. I wonder if that line is still in this movie at this part.
I think they'd have to. I mean, if they're going to release that, not even a year after the whole Jeffrey Dahmer thing, it's been enough time already. It's not too soon anymore.
It's not too soon, yes, but yeah. I was a little taken aback when I heard Jeffrey Dahmer's name. when I watched it the first time, I probably didn't get it, or like say get the joke, because I said in the 90s and being with the UK, Jeffrey Dahmer wasn't a big name back then. But now watching it back, I'd say it was kind of like almost like a double take, saying, "Did he just say what I thought he just said?" But like I say, I did laugh at it and think, "Oh, I shouldn't really laugh," but I did laugh. But yes, so with these movies as well, I know you're a big fan of this one. I know it's got like quite a big cult following. What would you give this out of 5 if you were going to give this 5? So this is the perfect movie.
Not even hesitating.
Yeah.
There's a lot of plot holes, but what is it? Armageddon? Where it is. Where what's it called? Ben Affleck said. Is it Michael Bay the director?
I can't remember now. I
can't remember who the. It's someone like Michael Bay where Ben Affleck was like, why don't they just train the astronauts to use a drill? And he just goes, shut up, that's why.
Possibly, yeah.
They're not allowed to eat meat in Demolition Man, are they?
No.
But what is the number one requested song on the radio?
Armored hot dogs.
Hot dogs. Kids love to eat armored hot dogs. Why do kids love to eat hot dogs made of meat? They can't. But why is that the number one song?
That's why I get confused about this movie as well at times. This is my rating's probably only a 3. I'll be honest with you. It's entertaining, but it makes no sense at times where they've banned anything to do that they think could be bad for you. Why would only commercials be allowed to be played? If they like say if they weren't bad for you, because commercials are now seen as the devil for a lot of things because they're advertising things that are bad for you and not great. Where music, which can help a lot of people, why is music now deemed as bad?
I mean, it possibly could be like corporation bribery. So
right.
Like, you're changing everything in the world. Well, we still want to advertise our products. Here's some money. All right. Well, we're not having any like rock music or rap music anymore. Just adverts. So,
and again, watching it back now, I get confused by this as well. So during the whole restaurant wars, Pizza Hut and like say certain things stayed alive. If they were banning and getting rid of the worst things that was bad for you, surely pizza would have been on the chopping block for the first thing that they would get rid of.
Yeah, definitely. So do you remember Pizza Hut or Taco Bell?
I can't remember. I remember Taco Bell being mentioned.
Right. Okay, that's strange because the one I watched 2 days ago was Taco Bell.
Right.
Pizza Hut was for the UK and possibly like some parts of Europe.
Right. Okay. I did not know
But Taco
that.
Bell's the original.
Right.
They had to like basically Photoshop all of them scenes.
Right.
I don't know if Taco Bell didn't have rights to do the advertising here, or if people just didn't know what Taco Bell was.
So that's a good fact. I did not know that because I've seen it a few times and I've seen different versions. I've seen the Taco Bell. I think when I downloaded it, but I did notice when I watched the one yesterday that it had Pizza Hut as the sign as well instead of the Taco Bell, and I just thought it was just like a throwaway comment. But yeah, so depending on which version or which part of the world that you're in, you got a different takeaway type thing. But to be fair,
I mean, I watched it on Amazon the other day, so I don't know if that's because it's an American company. It might have just given me the American version.
Possibly. Have you been using the different thing to hide you where you live and stuff like that, so you get extra things?
Oh no.
That is the thing. You can't hide from your internet company to get, because we used to do it for the Netflix, because you used to be able to get all the American shows on Netflix where you got the UK ones on the UK one. So if you spoofed and pretended you were in the US, you used to get all the US shows.
That sounds a bit too technical for me.
Dodge you up north. Giving you hints and tips all the way there. But yes, Jake's pointing out as well that he told us this in the top 5 action movies. But to be fair though, Jake, that was nearly a year and a half ago. So to remember everything that we've discussed on every single podcast is getting, and I have got memory issues. I am old as well. Don't forget that. So do you, because with Stallone and everything as well, normally you get about 15 sequels. Why did we not get a sequel to Demolition Man?
I don't know. I think maybe he just didn't know where to go with it.
Right. Could go back in time or like refreeze him or unfreeze him or something like that.
No, I feel like if anything, they should have went and sorted the rest of the country out as well. Because I imagine that San Angeles isn't the only place where this is happening. So I'd assume we'd have to go and start shutting down all the other cryo-prisons and then trying to police the new world, which I suppose will just turn into Judge Dredd.
True. But that always, like I say, what I wanted to find more interesting now as an older, I didn't think of it much as a younger person, but now when I watch it back, because they don't really mention other places around the world or in America, I want to know what kind of dystopia or what that's turned into, how it is governed, like, because they don't mention like president or like say America as a country. It's all about like say that little county that's kind of lived in, and now the guy who runs the corporation, he runs everything that goes in, especially the prisons and stuff. So surely a higher government would have more telling, or has America now broken up into different dystopians as well?
I'm not sure. Hopefully when I get this novelization of it, it might explain a bit more. But I'm sure he says something about he's doing this whole Simon Phoenix thing to like get the utopia that he wants to release it everywhere else, I think.
Right, okay. So it's kind of like a corporation that he can sell on as marketing, saying, look, this is what we've accomplished. All we need to do is to roll it out, almost like a franchise type thing, like how McDonald's took over the world.
Yeah.
Very cool. No, interesting. So yes, and because I know you said you've been getting a lot of your factoids down, you've been having your notes. Is there any of your factoids that you haven't laid on us yet?
I missed one of my things. So not really a prediction, but it's more just like a statement, which is there's the guy that Wesley Snipes pulls out of the phone box. Although it's not really a phone that the guy's using. It's a self-help machine. Right. And it's like, you are an incredibly sensitive man who inspires joy feelings and those all around you. And this guy's like, and Simon Phoenix just pulls him out. Using computers and stuff like that for self-validation. It's essentially Facebook. You go online,
Well, wait there.
say something.
Facebook isn't the pro and happy place. I've seen people saying I'm down and I'm sad, and other people's been posting saying go and kill yourself. So,
well, minus the trolls, because I don't think there's too many of them in this utopia.
Yes. Or in Nerdy Up North as well. They seem to get booted as well. We have lost a few members over the last week due to the narrowed-mindedness of a few Bellends, shall we say. But hey ho.
One more, I think, which is in the Middle East. This was released as Rambo the Destroyer.
What? Really?
They'd had success over there with the Rambo movies and Conan.
Okay.
So they were like, well, let's just call this Rambo the Destroyer, and that'll lure people in to come and see it.
If anyone can find the poster or like a DVD cover with that on, that would be awesome. I'd love to see that. Rambo the Destroyer. I might just Photoshop it myself and say, look, this new movie that's coming out next year. So I know
one more actually. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
So I've mentioned all of these scenes that were cut. There was one scene, well, one part which they actually had put into the film. The whole beginning sequence wasn't originally there.
Right. Okay.
So it was meant to just be starting from them waking up in the future, but Frank Decker had done a rewrite and said, if you don't show Kansas, Oz isn't special.
Yeah. No, I get that. I probably wouldn't have got. That's probably why that bit does feel a little bit like rushed or stuck on it in ways at times. Because as you said at the start when we were having the conversation, it makes no sense that he gets sent down for everything that happens when it's just the word of like a madman saying he made me do it. He didn't care. He just wanted to take me down. It's obvious. Like I know, like the American justice system is quite wonky-eyed at the best of times, but surely they're not that wonky-eyed where, like I say, a decorated police officer with basically, let's say,
John Spartan, he made over 1,000 arrests in 3 years.
How many of them people were guilty though? That's the question we need to ask.
But if they froze him, he must have just been doing all the work. How did they manage to get all the criminals frozen to create this utopia?
Probably didn't. Probably just killed them all. They probably created murder, death, kills. But that again, one of the most ridiculous terms as well. It's not just murder; it's murder, death, kill. So it's kind of like emphasizing the murder part that it ends in death and that someone kills. It's like a bit of overkill, but yeah. And what was the way they used to say to people to say goodbye? Be well, everyone.
Yeah. Be well, John Spartan. Mellow greetings.
But again, that's just another thing that happened because what was what during lockdown the saying, so a lot of people when people used to say goodbye used to be stay safe.
Yeah.
So again,
yeah, definitely
another thing that just basically happened that we didn't realise. So yes, Jess has been careful of googling Rambo the Destroyer, just getting some certain fan fiction that probably his Goodwill could read out on his next Twitch stream. Yes. So yes, I think this is a good movie. It's not perfect by any means, but it's one of the ones where you would shut your brain off and just enjoy and just rock and roll with it, and it's fun from start to finish. Could it be improved? Yes. Should it be improved? No. That's probably my take on it as well. If there was like say scenes cut out with like Spartan's daughter, I wouldn't mind seeing that cut if they ever did release like a director's cut or a different version. I think that could add to it. But I wouldn't change too much of it, being honest. Even though I took the piss a little bit, I don't think it needs to be changed too much, to be honest with you there.
Nah, I wouldn't change a single thing, apart from maybe putting in those extra scenes.
And just a question about your hat. How long have you had the hat? Did you get it specially for the podcast, or have you had it for a while?
It arrived yesterday. And this is a bit of card with silver tape on because I couldn't get the badge. Oh, and this vest thing that I'm wearing, it's I need to tail it up. It's a 20-kilogram vest because I bought it ages ago thinking I could do weight training, and I wore it once and then put it in the garage.
Bless you. So Jake's just announced as well. So Jake will be streaming tonight at I don't know what time. Jake, if you're in the chat, tell us what time. He says there's going to be no fan fiction tonight. I will take on a Twitch slot, and he will be doing be full on Debbie Downer mode, if whatever that means. So if Jake will be on the Nerdy Up North Twitch channel tonight. Also as well, Goodwill is not live this Friday, as I found out yesterday. He is going to be live on Saturday from Annick Castle. Like I say, Sean Finnick and Graham's going to be involved with the Talking Trek. This Sunday's episode, I believe it is the X-Men episode. So Jake, I hope you are getting your X-Men knowledge, because you probably forgot you're going to be on this Sunday. So that's more fun stuff. But I am looking forward to the X-Men episode. That is going to be entertaining, because so many different viewpoints on that, because there's people who's a fan of the comics, there's people who are fans of the cartoon, especially with the new cartoon coming out now, and also, like say, the movies and what we're getting now with Deadpool 3 and where that's going to go on. It should be quite interesting. And Jake said he is live from 6:30 tonight. Anything you want to promote there, Lee?
No, nothing I can think of.
Nothing I can think of. So what is the next film you're going to throw into the hat for the vote for people to try and thing? So get the first one out now, so that we can try and build a following for it. See if we can get you to come back on again.
Oh, see, I would say my second greatest action movie would be Terminator 2. No. I've always said it's between my top action movies are between Terminator 2 and Demolition Man, and Demolition Man wins by just a bit. To
be fair, Terminator 2 is not a bad movie. I do enjoy the movie, but it does get so much love that Terminator 1 deserves. Now, Terminator 1 is the better movie. Hands down. If you watch them back to back, Terminator 1 is the greatest movie from start to finish.
I agree Terminator 1 is a better story, but Robert Patrick is one of the greatest villains of all time in Terminator 2.
Arnie as the Terminator, there's nothing as scary as Arnold Schwarzenegger as the T-800 in Terminator 1. He is unstoppable, unrelenting, and just focused on the mission. Robert Pattinson is good, but it's not as scary in my eyes. But again, that's where the debate comes to. So we'll throw Terminator 2 in the hat. We'll add a few more.
I think you mentioned RoboCop as well.
RoboCop did well, but didn't think so. RoboCop could be added to the list as well. But I'll have to think of some others to try and not make it as action packed, because I know Jake would actually kill me if I tried talking about RoboCop without him as well. But yes, so that was our review of Demolition Man. So a little cheeky dinner time special for anyone who wanted to Skype during the lunch break. So yes, we have got a lot of stuff coming out, and remember, I will be sorting out stuff and trying to organise things for the 24-hour stream and have a lot of things planned for that. I don't know how we're going to fit it all into 24 hours. Some people's going to have to stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning to keep up with the shit that we're going to be doing. But yeah, it's going to be entertaining. And like I say, this is almost Lee's third appearance now on the Nerdy Up North podcast. Is this right? Is this?
Yeah. This is number 3.
Number 3. So are you beating Peaches yet, or is it tie-in with Peaches? I don't know how many times Peaches has been on.
I think it's a tie, but I am on not Sunday coming because that's X-Men. Possibly the Sunday after. Is
that when we're doing top 5 spy movies?
Yes.
That's penciled in. That might be changing. I'm not going to lie, but I'll keep you informed. Just because, like I say, we've got
happy to come on whenever.
Got a lot of things fit in, and like I said, hopefully. Like I say, if it doesn't change, like I say, it's top 5 spy movies, which it is what it is. But but yes, so same bat time, same bat channel.
Be well.
I thought you were going to say stay nerdy, everyone. Sam didn't even get finished there. That's fine. Bye, guys.
Bye.